Hi everyone. Before we get started, I just want to mention that all the characters and stories in today's interview are portrayed as digital characters. I'm Jane, and today I have a very special guest with me. I'll be speaking with Mariah from P2020 about her newly released single, Lead My Heart, and the story and inspiration behind it. Hi Mariah. Thank you so much for joining me today. Mariah, can you share with us what inspired you to write Lead My Heart? I'm especially curious because I know this song has a connection to a story from the Bible that has clearly touched your own heart.
Hi Jane, thank you so much for having me. It's really lovely to be here. I'll just briefly share the story that inspired me, and I think once you hear my song, you'll really feel where I'm coming from. Ruth was married into a family where she built a close and loving relationship with her mother-in-law, Naomi. But when Ruth's husband lost his life, everything changed. In that moment of loss and uncertainty, Ruth made a decision that has always deeply moved me. She chose to stay with Naomi and remain part of her family. What fascinates me most is why she made that choice. Ruth had seen Naomi's faith up close. She witnessed how Naomi carried herself, even through grief and hardship. There was something so real and steady about Naomi's relationship with God that it deeply impacted her. Ruth didn't just hear about God, she saw faith lived out. Ruth's commitment began with deep love and loyalty to Naomi, but it led her to something greater. Even though she was a Moabite, from a different culture and most likely a pagan background, she made the powerful decision to turn toward the God of Israel. Without knowing what the future would bring, she said, "Your people will be my people, and your God, my God." That moment shows a heart choosing God before having full understanding. And then we see how God gently responds. Ruth steps into a new life, works humbly in the fields, and in what seems like an ordinary moment, she meets Boaz. But looking back, you can see that this wasn't random. It was God's quiet guidance. Through Boaz, she finds provision, protection, and ultimately restoration. That's what inspired Lead My Heart. It's about choosing God, even when you don't fully understand, and trusting that He will guide what comes next.
Some people might wonder, was Ruth really led by God? I'd love for you to share your thoughts, especially since your song talks about God guiding the heart. How do you see Ruth's faith journey, and what can we learn from her story?
That's a really important question, because Ruth was not led in the same way as a prophet like Moses. There was no direct voice from God speaking to her or clearly telling her where to go. Instead, her journey began with trust in Naomi. She had seen her faith, her strength, and her endurance through pain. There was something so genuine and consistent about Naomi's relationship with God that it drew Ruth in. Her decision was driven by love, loyalty, and the quiet influence of a life lived in faith. From there, Ruth made a courageous step. She left everything familiar, her land, her culture, her security. She simply chose a direction. She chose God without full understanding, and she walked forward in faith, not knowing the outcome. So when I say that God led her heart, I mean that Ruth turned her heart toward Him, and from that moment on, God gently guided her life through ordinary moments, faithful steps, and quiet provision. It shows that sometimes God leads us not by giving us all the answers, but by meeting us when we choose Him and shaping our path from there.
Mariah, thank you so much for sharing these beautiful insights and the heart behind your song. It was truly inspiring to hear how this story connects so deeply to your music. And to everyone watching, thank you for joining us today. See you next time.
Thank you so much, Jane. It was such a pleasure talking with you. And thank you to everyone listening. I really hope the song encourages you to trust God with your journey. Take care and see you soon.